One of my favorite things in the world to do is watch Friends. I know it's been off for years and years. It's not even around, but I still find myself binge watching old episodes. And I was thinking about this today and thinking, it's the predictability of the friends in the circle, right? You have Chandler with his quirkiness, Monica with her type A of just everything has to be so neat and tidy and organized. It's Phoebe's ability to make you laugh at her silly songs. Ross always comes in with those smart comments, and Joey and him and his food, like it is just so hilarious. And of course, Rachel, she just brings everybody together, and it's just such this beautiful, cohesive team of people. And it's why I wanted to come on and share with you today that I have an opportunity for you to find your friends in the content creation space. So if you are thinking about creating your first or your next digital course, I don't want you to miss this opportunity because Amy Porterfield just opened the doors for registration for her Course Confident Bootcamp. And I'm actually offering a special bonus for anyone that registers for the Course Confident Bootcamp through my special link. So I want you to go to crystalprofit.com/Amy-bootcamp to register. That's crystalprofit.com/Amy-bootcamp. And what you're going to find when you get there is I have this special bonus private podcast series. It's called Money Mindset for Creators. So I want you to go register for Amy's bootcamp, download the podcast, and immediately start listening to it, because what this training is set up to do is to help you get your mind right about monetizing your content, making money so that you can fuel your content creation dreams. So go to crystalprofit.com/Amy-bootcamp to register for Course Confident. And I cannot wait for you to find your friends and find the people that will be there for you. Do you see what I did there? Yeah, nice little friends segue connection. Go to crystalprofit.com/Amy-bootcamp. And I cannot wait to see you inside. Okay, let's get into today's episode. Are you an online entrepreneur looking for the greatest tips, strategies, tools, and resources? Of course you are, right? Like, who isn't? If you're trying to grow a business online, you always are looking for the new trends and the things that will help your business move faster, more effectively. Well, I'm excited to participate in this year's BC Stack 2020. This is a program that bundles 65 different digital marketing how-to products and masterclasses into one stack. You're going to find topics like Facebook ads, copywriting, Instagram, WordPress, SEO, social media, YouTube, podcasting, Pinterest, email analytics, and more. So I am so excited for this happening. It's coming on July 19th, 2020. So mark your calendars and get ready because it's going to be exciting. Have you ever sent out an email and hit send and immediately thought, oh crap, I misspelled 15 different things. I put the wrong link in there and I didn't even include the main thing that I wanted to tell my people. You've done that too, right? Right? That's not just me. Okay, good. Now that we're on the same page, I want to talk about having that same reaction after you've recorded one of your podcast episodes. Because I've had people say, I just finished recording and I feel like this episode was total crap. I feel like it was not good and I don't know what to do. Well, that's what we're going to talk about today. So let's get right to it. Welcome to the Profit Podcast, where we teach entrepreneurs how to start, launch, and market their podcast. I'm your host, Crystal Profit, and I'm so excited that you're here. Thanks for hanging out with me today, because if you've been trying to figure out the world of podcasting, think of this show as the time-saving shortcut you've been looking for. So let's get right to it, shall we? So like I said in the beginning, I kind of shared with you just a total, have you done this? Like, I just want to know, like, yes, nod your head along. If you've sent out an email that you immediately thought, oh my gosh, I wish I could hit cancel, delete, make it all go away, because I've done that many, many times. Actually, if you're on my email list, you've probably seen some that you're like, well, Crystal totally screwed the pooch on this one today. But I'm talking about your podcast episodes, because this is actually a question that I saw recently in a podcast community that says, have you ever had a podcast episode where you feel like it wasn't one of your better ones? Do you still put it out anyway? And I thought, oh, that's such a good question to ask, but a great topic for us to talk about as podcasters, because obviously we always share our wins, right? You get your first 1,000 downloads and you're celebrating and shouting it from the rooftops, and you get your first 100 subscribers and you are just elated and over the moon. But we don't talk about those thoughts that happen while we're by ourselves and it's just us and our microphone, and we feel unworthy and we feel like we have no idea what we're doing, and we question whether or not this will impact anybody. And I'm speaking not from the perspective of being a podcast coach who's had clients and customers and members of my community say this to me. I'm talking about myself, okay? Like, I would love to sit here like up on a pedestal and preach down. Actually, y'all know that's not my style. That's not my style, to be holier than thou, and I never make mistakes. You know better than that. At least if you've been listening to this podcast for a while, you know that I love sharing my mistakes. But I've realized that mindset is actually something I need to talk about more whenever it comes to brand new podcasters, because you just want to know, is this normal? I recorded an entire episode and I'm done, and I think it sounds like total garbage. Like, I just want to throw the entire audio file away. Is this a normal reaction? Yes, it is. 100% normal. Actually, I feel like I almost feel that way every single time I record an episode. So, shock. Oh my gosh, Crystal, you shouldn't say that. You're the podcast expert here. You shouldn't talk about being anything less than perfect whenever you're recording your audio sessions. Well, my friend, I can tell you, I'm definitely imperfect every single week when it comes to this podcast. But I think that that's why you're here. I think that you tune in for that reason, because you don't have to be perfect either. I hope that you are celebrating in the fact that I still make mistakes and you will too, and that's okay. But we are particularly talking about, if you record an episode, you don't love it, what do you do? So there's a few options, and the first one will probably be kind of obvious if you've been around here for a while. You publish it anyway, because the majority of you are thinking it is total garbage, when reality, it's probably an amazing piece of content. And maybe it's just your own hangups, right? Like, maybe you said something weird, or you pronounced something kind of funky and you thought to yourself, oh my God, what an idiot. I can't believe you said that way. I did that in a recent YouTube video. I went back and I was watching it when I was doing the editing, and I totally messed up. I don't even remember what the word was. I said it really wrong, and I thought, I'm just going to put it out there anyway, because I believe that done is better than perfect. We would not be listening to episode 168 of this podcast if I believed you had to have something perfect before it was ready to go out into the world. So that's going to be the first advice I'm going to give to you, is ask yourself, is this really bad, or am I just getting in my own way? Like, are the hangups that you have about your voice or about the way you said something, or maybe things just kind of came out a little funky? I know I do that too sometimes, where I feel like I'm rambling and then I realize, it's fine. Like, it wasn't too bad. Maybe I went on a little rant for like 30 seconds or something. That's okay. But if it's a lot longer than that, maybe we'll check out option number 2, Which option number 2, if you feel like you've recorded an episode and you're just not 100% happy with it, delete some of it. That's definitely an option. I'm not saying that you have to record and immediately hit publish on whatever it is that you're creating, but I think that you should evaluate why you feel the need to delete something. So let's go back to option number 1. If it's in your head, probably leave it. It's just you and you're trying to hold yourself back. But if there is actually a portion of it where you're just like, man, I don't even know what I'm talking about, and I'm the one that said it, my audience is going to be super confused. Well, then I suggest going in and deleting out those chunks of audio that don't make sense, or if you found yourself rambling, or if you stumbled a lot through your thoughts. That's actually happened to me a few times where I'll go back and in the editing portion, I'll listen. And I think that I was trying to make a statement about something. And please tell me, okay, I'm going to be super vulnerable with you guys again, right? Like we're pulling back the curtain and I'm just sharing it all here. But I've had multiple episodes where I start recording and I go down a trail and I am just like, yes, this is so good, right? This is what I'm telling myself in my head while I'm talking, right? Which is a terrible, terrible thing to do. You should not be talking to yourself in your head and trying to actually talk out loud because bad things happen. But I have gone on several tangents and then realized, oh my gosh, I forgot the point I was trying to make. Or I know I had a point. I know I was going somewhere with this. Where was I going? And then you realize you're talking and you're talking and you're talking, and then you're uncomfortably talking, and then you're awkwardly talking because you're like, oh wait, I still need to keep talking because I know my brain's going to circle around and tell me the thing that I was really trying to say. I hope that this happens. I hope you're nodding along right now and you're not like, Crystal, you're a nut job. None of us know what you're talking about. I know you guys. Y'all are nodding along and saying, yes, I've done this too. And my default is when I catch myself, because luckily, most times I catch myself when I do that, when I'm rambling and I'm kind of just going around in the circle of nonsense, I will simply pause. And that's when I know, okay, this is where you messed up. These are the parts of the audio that I need to go and edit out in the editing phase. So that's door number 2, okay? If you've recorded something and you found that you are just not in love with your recording session, then you can go through and delete the chunks of the audio that you don't find work really well. And then door number 3, and this is probably one that not a lot of people talk about, but I'm remembering, if y'all remember the episode I did with Thomas Umstadt, he talked about, and it's funny because now I'm saying this, but I'm like, wait, did he say that on our podcast episode or did I hear him at Spark? Because I think that this was actually not in the interview I did with him, but this was when I watched him speak. That's what it was, because he spoke about editing at the Spark Christian Podcast Conference when I saw him in February of this year. This is what it was. So he said, you will waste more time going back and editing a 20-minute episode, right? He's assuming you totally just bombed, right? You screwed the whole thing up. Don't try to go back and make all these edits and impossible, like, oh, I need to change this, I need to do that. His suggestion is to go back and re-record the entire thing. So that's option number 3, is if you sit down and you record something and it is just total crap. You are just like, I don't know how I'm going to recover from this. Like you're looking at this audio file. Let's just assume it's 30 minutes long. You recorded a 30-minute podcast episode and you're just looking at it like, oh my gosh, I'm going to have to go in and cut out this 5-minute chunk that I had no idea what I was even talking about. And then I'm going to have to go and switch this idea around with this one because I meant to put this one first and I meant to do this. And then the audio was messed up and it was wonky here. So I got to fix that. Like you're staring at it, looking at the amount of time it's going to take you to fix this 30-minute audio clip. Why not? Instead, you scrap the whole thing and start over. I know it's probably not something that you would normally hear me say, but I would rather see you scrap an entire episode and re-record it in 30 minutes than spend 4 hours trying to edit it to sound decent. Because I promise you, if you've already said everything out loud, right? You've already looked at your notes, you've recorded the entire thing, you're probably going to do better on the second run anyway, right? If you're looking at the same notes, you want to tell the same stories, you'll sit down and you'll find yourself, you're coming up on that part where you went on that hot, tangent, this rant over here where you wasted 5 minutes of the episode. You won't do that again. You'll make sure to make a really important point there instead, or you'll take your time and make sure that you don't say something that you don't want to include in that episode. So those are your 3 options that I really want you to evaluate. If you sit down to record an episode and you're like, this is just total crap, I don't know what to do with it, those are your options. So I'm going to recap again. Number 1 is I want you to ask yourself, are you getting in your own way? Is the episode really okay and you should just publish it anyway? Because it's probably just you and nobody else will realize any of the mistakes that you've done, right? This is me. Most of the time, my own issues are within myself and I just need to push through and do them anyway and put it out into the world because remember, done is better than perfect. So that's option number 1. Option number 2 is delete any portions of it where you just find yourself totally confused and your audience is going to think, what is she talking about? Or what is he saying? Because I don't get it. Like we're not on the same page. If you found yourself saying something that doesn't appeal to your ideal listener and will have them kind of turned off from the episode, delete it. Make sure it's not there. You don't want to publish something that is... I don't know. I'm trying to think of the delicate way to say this because I don't want you to say, well, none of it's good. None of it's good. Like I should just quit. I'm a terrible podcaster anyway. You guys, I'm telling you right now, this happens to me all the time. It's not like it happens like, oh, that was that one time back in episode 3 where I had, No. This actually happened to me, I want to say 2 weeks ago. I sat down, I started recording something. Totally forgot what I was talking about. Like I said, I was doing the whole thinking in my head and trying to talk out loud. It didn't work. And I was like, blah. And then I just had to pause and cut like this whole minute and a half of like, what are you even talking about? So if you have to do that, you're not a failure. You're a podcaster. Podcasters do this all the time. And if you didn't know this, there are podcasts that are hours long. And I can imagine that there's a whole team of people that do tons of editing. So maybe this audio clip was like 3 hours and they shortened it down to 2 hours. That's a lot of editing. That's a crazy amount of editing that they've had to do to get it like that. You're just a podcaster. I still mess up all the time. If you mess up, it's fine. You're in the club. Like, welcome. Join us. Join the imperfect people. Come on, there's plenty of room at this table. I would love to have you come sit next to me. Okay, so step number 3, or I guess door number 3, option number 3. I've been using a lot of funky sayings lately. I don't even remember what we were talking about. So the third option is re-record the entire thing. Like I said earlier, I would much rather see you sit down for another 30 minutes and record the exact same episode again than I would watch you sit down for 4 hours and try to make it okay. You're going to do better the second pass. I promise you won't make the same mistakes again. So I would much rather see you put effort into creating that same piece of content, re-recording it, as opposed to trying to make it something that it's probably never actually going to be. Your second one will probably be a lot better. But that's all I have for you today, guys. So if you ever find yourself recording a podcast and you aren't sure what to do, come back and listen to this episode. I hope that you find it comforting that I'm not perfect. I've been doing this for a long time and I'm still not perfect. I make mistakes all the time and that's okay because I'm a podcaster and you're probably a podcaster too. And I'm going to encourage you to learn from those mistakes and keep going. But that's all I have for you today. So if you are brand new to this show, you got just a firsthand backstage pass to what this podcast really is all about. I would love for you to subscribe to this podcast wherever you're listening and leave us a rating and a review. I would so appreciate it. Take a screenshot wherever you're listening and tag me on social media. Check out the show notes for this episode at crystalprofit.com/episode 168. And remember, keep it up. We all have to start somewhere. Hey, Profit Podcast listeners. Thanks for sticking around to a little bit after the episode to hear this special message because I want to hear from you. We are starting a new segment called Fan Mail Shoutouts, and I want to hear from you and I want to hear your questions. What do you want to know? What questions have you been dying to ask me? So here's how to make this happen. Go to the app where you're listening to this podcast right now. Go there. I'll wait a second. Okay. Now, once you're there, you're going to see a hyperlink at the top of the episode description that says, send Crystal a text message. And that's all I want you to do. Send me a text. It could be casual, informal. It could be totally anonymous. Or if you want, you can include your name and the name of your podcast or content wherever you are creating, and I will give you a special shout out in an upcoming episode. So again, go to the show notes for where you're listening to this episode right now, and it will say, send Crystal a text message. And I cannot wait to hear from you and give you a shout out in an upcoming segment of Fan Mail Shoutouts.